Hey there, I'm Travis Preston, post producer and founder of Electric Puzzle, and welcome to my Post Basics series. Today I'm walking you through post budgeting. I'll be sharing my budget template with you, as well as the 10 steps that I take when budgeting post for a new project. By the end, you'll have everything you need to begin building out a post budget on your own. So, let's get into it. My template is a blend of many different budgets I've worked with over the years. Every studio has their own version, but what's important to me is that there's a line for every item I may need to spend money on in post. A good budget, I think, serves as a checklist, helping you remember key steps in the post pipeline while starting up and managing your project. I've got it divided into 9 main sections: dailies and data storage, visual effects, editorial, music, sound design, mastering, main titles, versioning and localization, and miscellaneous post-production. Underneath those sections sit around 150 individual line items. Don't worry, I'm not going to break them all down, but just to show you how this can serve as a checklist, as I go down, I'm not only dropping in estimated numbers, but also asking myself questions like, oh, have we purchased our production and shuttle drives? Or have we locked in travel for our VFX soup? Have I connected with our music supervisor yet to determine licensing needs, or if this is going to be all original score? There are so many steps to remember, and even having done this many times, having the steps listed out as a reminder is a lifesaver, even if I end up not needing them. Okay, but how do you actually build this out? Like, where do the numbers come from? I'm going to show you right now by sharing my 10-step process. The first number you need is the budget cap from your line producer. Sometimes they can get a little weird about this. They may give you a number to stay under, or they may not. If they do, the number they're giving you is their cap on post and has been arrived at with relative consideration for all the other production costs. If not, they want you to come up with a number and still land underneath the mystery number in their head. A quick note about budget numbers. If the producers do trust you enough to share the budget numbers with you, treat this as sacred information. Don't share it with anyone or it won't happen again. Now, whether they did or not, this takes us nicely into step 2. This is where you get to know the project inside and out. You get your hands on the script, break it down, look at any decks or previs assets the production has already, and meet the other producers and director if possible. This way you can discuss how they imagine the creative being executed. Post isn't just technical and logistical, it's always in service of the creative. Effects are a great example of this. Some directors choose to try things practically, while others rely fully on post. Early conversations with the lead creatives can help you better estimate costs up front and build a rapport with key stakeholders, who you'll be dealing with a lot. While you're getting to know the project, it's a really good time to also get the ball rolling with production accounting, to understand their account numbering, PO, and billing system, and to get access to any specific budgeting software they may want you to use. For a lot of independent projects, there is no proprietary budgeting software, and there can be loose, if any, rules for account numbers and POs. And in these cases, you should build your own system for tracking and reporting cost. This is where I'd encourage you to use my budget template as a foundation, because I've already got some standard account numbers in there for you to use. Now that you got your accounting rules figured out, you can start dropping in estimates. You'll hear me say this a lot, but when thinking about post and filmmaking in general, you kind of want to start at the end. In this case, where is the project being delivered? Is there a theatrical component, or is it going straight to streaming? What streamer? Because they all have their own specs. Or maybe you're working on a shorter spot. Will there be cut downs, reformats, web versions, broadcast versions, international? All of these elements determine the overall costs and inform decisions like the vendors best suited for the job, or licensing requirements for music and stock assets, and what type of deliveries to ask for from your picture and sound vendors. If you're unsure where the project will live after it's done, for example, if it doesn't have a buyer yet, you can base your deliverables on the standard deliverables of a streaming platform of your choice. Netflix, for instance, have their delivery requirements available online, and you can use those as a model to build your budget if the project hasn't been acquired yet. So you've broken down the script, you've met the above the line folks, so by now you can at least make an educated guess for your budget cap if the line producer didn't provide it to you. Pick a number and then aim for 15% below that as your North Star. Do research, ask other post people, start laying in numbers based on market rates. Once you've got numbers in for everything, you'll already see you've got to start playing with it and moving things around to keep your totals in line with your budget cap. Once you've gotten through it and you feel good about where you're at, dial up your line producer and at least make sure you're in the ballpark. Then the games can really begin. I personally love this step. This is where you get to reach out to vendors and begin conversations with the people that will eventually make up your post team. Why do I love it? Because the world is your oyster here. You know the script and the hopes and dreams of your director and producers by now. You can reach out to literally anyone that you think would be a good fit and ask them for a bid. This absolutely means reaching out to those vendors you have a great relationship with already. Nothing beats that. But you can also reach out to anyone in the world that's doing cool stuff. Quick example. I was developing this retrofuturism themed science series and knew I wanted an animated intro. I always loved the NASA posters that came out in 2016. So I researched the designer, Invisible Creature, found them, reached out to them for a bid. They provided me numbers as well as the animation team they prefer to work with. Vendors that are bidding jobs for you are also a great resource to ask any questions you have about the process or about how your project will be executed when it gets to them. So really take your time with this part and get clarity on anything you need to. Not everyone agrees this is the right way to do things, but it's my belief that if you're given a price ceiling and can stay under that, even with contingency, it is absolutely the right way because unexpected things always come up, especially in post. And this gives you the ability to deal with those. And hey, worst case scenario, you come in under budget and no one's gonna be mad at that. 20% contingency is a little generous. I'll often squeeze it down to 15 or 10 to get under the number I need to hit, but starting high gives me room to push prices down everywhere. If I can still hit the target with that cushion built in, I know I can stay in budget when something unexpected comes up. So now that you've got your bids in, you can start comparing them and negotiating. One way to do this is negotiating whole packages, like dailies, color, VFX, and mastering all with a single vendor. By keeping more services in-house, you can get a markdown on everything. You can also usually get better deals with vendors you have an existing relationship with, or if the project is really cool, you can trade on that to get numbers down to where you need them to be. Just make sure that you've had your vendors include all the services and time you'll need in that initial bid. Change orders, especially in VFX and finishing, can add up fast. They cost a lot more added later if you would have bid them up front, so it literally pays to be prepared. Every vendor invoice, including yours, should map back to a purchase order with the project and vendor name, the line items included, the account number the product or service falls under, and the total cost after discounts. Same goes for expense receipts. As mentioned before, if you ever land on a production with no PO system, create your own. Create your own PO numbers, keep a log. By the time you wrap, that record is how your accounting team knows where the money went and how it all stacked up against the budget. You can find guidelines on how to do this online, and I may make a specific video about it later if you tell me to in the comments. I had a friend, brilliant at post, who went from a really small reality show to Disney and then later to a key post position at one of the major streamers. When he started at Disney, I asked him what the real difference was at that level. And he said, when someone calls and asks you a question, you have to know the answer. When you build this budget, understand every line on it. Question a vendor's totals, the terminology, why something costs what it does, because eventually someone's going to ask you to justify your numbers and you need to have the answers right away. You made your budget, you tracked costs as they came up. Some things ended up being cheaper than planned, others required change orders that caused you to exceed the budget for certain line items. If you've been tracking costs and POs, you'll know exactly where it happened and you'll have receipts to prove it. When a project wraps, you can deliver all of this along with any other paperwork you recorded along the way to the line producer. And even better, because you're tracking as you go, you can give them a heads up before costs balloon so that there are no surprises by the end. So those are my key principles and steps when it comes to building a post budget. Keep an eye out for future videos where I break down the entire post pipeline. And if you haven't yet, Check out the other video in this series where I break down post scheduling. Hopefully this video gives you just one more of the tools you need to prepare to post.